And that concludes our service for this morning. Gosh, that'll wake you up in the morning. Well, a happy hello to everybody. Welcome to another wonderful Sunday here at First Unitarian Society, where independent thinkers gather in a safe, nurturing, musical environment to explore issues with social, spiritual, and ethical significance as we try to make a difference in this world. I'm Steve Goldberg, a proud member of this congregation, recently diagnosed as a very stable genius. And just wanted to share that with you. Also want to share a very special greeting and a warm welcome to any guests, visitors, or newcomers. If this is your first time at First Unitarian Society, you'll find that this is a special place. And if you'd like to learn more about our special buildings, we'll be conducting a guided tour right after the service. Just meet over here by the windows after the service if you're interested, and we'll take good care of you. And speaking of taking care of each other, this is the perfect time to silence those pesky electronic devices that you just will not need for the next hour, because you'll be leaning back or sitting forward to enjoy today's service, which I know will touch your heart, stir your spirit, and trigger one or two new thoughts. We're really glad that you're here. And now we invite you to join in a moment of centering silence so we can be fully present with each other this morning.
Before we leave this moment of centering silence, may we just take two intentional and deep breaths together. Breathe deeply to the very center of your being and release that breath. And one more very slow and deep breath. As we move into our time of worship, so many things that matter deeply start with a core place, a place that connects us again and again with the Spirit of life, that returns us to our better selves and brings us to the place of love. This is the heart of all things. This is the breath that animates the world. This is the flow and the thread that weaves us all into the interdependent web. May such a presence, a place, a calling, a thread, a purposefulness invite us to this time and this place of powerful belonging. Welcome to this time of worship. I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do as we spark our chalice together. You will find the words for our chalice lighting printed in your order of service, as together we say, with humility and courage born of our history, we are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all souls are welcome as blessings and the human family lives whole and reconciled. With this vision in our hearts and minds, we light our chalice. I invite you to turn towards each other and offer a friendly greeting. Good morning. Good morning. Glad that you're here. Good morning. Glad you're here. Good you're here today. Good morning. Or, oh, we can sit up there, sure.
please join us in hymn number 1018 in our teal hymnals. Come and Go With Me. We'll sing all 4 verses. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
Okay, we'd like to invite all the kids to come forward.
Come on, come on. Hello, hello. You did. You were speedy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. And Leslie, I am so excited to be sharing a story with you. It has been ages, months and months since we've done this, so it feels really good for us to do it this early in the fall and
Yeah.
share this time.
I'm glad to be here.
Very exciting.
So, you may or may not know that Doug and other people from our congregation here have been spending a lot of time talking about what's at the heart of FUS for us. And I kind of like to think of that as like, what are our favorite things that we do here? What are the things that make us excited about coming here and happy when we're here? And, you know, just our favorite pieces about First Unitarian Society. So to talk a little bit about that this morning, we're going to start by sharing a story with you about favorites. And the story is called Guess Who My Favorite Person Is by Bird Baylor. Ready? You ready, Doug?
I think so. Here we
All
go.
right, here we go. I happened to be in an alfalfa field, barefoot, sort of lying down, watching ladybugs climb yellow flowers, when I saw this little farm kid who was also barefoot, sort of lying down, watching ladybugs climb yellow flowers, helping them up again when they fell off.
Want to see my favorite one?
So I went over to where he was. He pointed to a bug. To tell you the truth, I couldn't see much difference between that one and about a million others. I was going back to my own part of the field when
Now you choose your favorite one.
it wasn't easy because I hadn't practiced choosing ladybugs, but finally I did. He You look surprised.
I can't believe you liked that one. I went over that 2 days ago, but that's your business.
For a while, we didn't talk at all. I stretched out and closed my eyes and just let the alfalfa be taller than I was.
So what is your favorite thing? Being asleep or being awake?
Awake.
Okay. Then wake up and let's play the Tell Me What Your Favorite Thing Is game. Okay?
I think we're already playing it.
We are, and it's my turn. My favorite turn is first.
By all means, go ahead then.
Okay. Tell me your favorite color.
Blue.
See, you're already playing the game wrong. In this game, you can't just say blue. You have to say what kind of blue.
All right. You know the blue that's on a lizard's belly? That sudden kind of blue you see just for a second, a blue that afterwards you think, maybe I made that up.
You know, I think I do know that kind of blue.
And then he told me his, and it was brown. Maybe I looked surprised.
You know, not many people appreciate brown, but I don't care. I do. It's like one of the best colors, especially that dark reddish brown that you see in mountains or in rocks. You see them in steep cliffs a lot, as a matter of fact.
I know that kind of brown. What's your favorite thing to touch?
Well, okay, my feet like mud, but my face likes wind, especially if I'm running uphill, so I have to choose both things.
Wait, it's not fair to choose two favorite things.
It is, if they really are your two favorite things, that's the only way to play.
I could see that he was kind of right about that. We must have named 100 favorite things that afternoon. I remember his favorite dream is flying.
Do you ever fly in your dreams? It's so easy looking down on the hills and valleys and flapping my arms as I want to go higher. And I've dreamed that dream at least 7 times.
Mine is finding turquoise beads when I'm just walking along, not really trying to find anything. I dreamed it once, about a year ago. What's your favorite time of day?
My favorite time of day is now. As I've been running around all day long and I'm out of breath and I'm falling down and I'm watching ladybugs and finding someone to play the Tell Me What Your Favorite Thing Is game and playing it together and then walking back as far as the road together.
I was going to say that sunset was my favorite time of day, when all the pinks and golds of the desert paint the sky. But when I thought about it, I wanted to choose now, too. I wasn't sure he'd let us both choose the same thing, but he was nice about it.
Well, of course we can. That's actually my favorite way to end the game.
By then, it was getting late, so we walked back as far as the road together.
So we want to invite you to think about your favorite things, and especially your favorite things here at First Unitarian Society. And Leslie and I were thinking a little bit about it, and I bet we did a little drawing, each of us, to think about our favorite things. And if it's okay, we're going to share our drawings with you now.
Yep.
Mine is amazing. It is really incredible.
He gets the colorful award.
Yeah, well, yes, it's true. So mine, you'll have to use your imagination. You can do that, can't you? Okay, here is my drawing. So the thing is that I travel all over to different churches and I stay for a couple of years. So I think about what it is that first brought me to church many years ago, and then I look to see how it is uniquely a part of the congregation that I go to. So what this says to me is that, first of all, in the very center are some symbols that have to do with religion. And one of the things I loved most about religion when I first began to go is I loved the stories and the kind of questions that we explored. But what around it are circles that are meant to represent people. And so surrounded by these great stories and questions are caring people that help you and share their own questions and stories with you. So that's my favorite thing about First Unitarian Society, the sort of stories and questions we explore, and that there are many different people that explore with us and help each other. What about you, Leslie? What's your favorite thing?
All right. This is my drawing. And see that there's a lot of people in my drawing because for me, the most important thing, the thing that I love most about First Unitarian Society has to do with the people who are here. So then with that in mind, one is a picture of somebody who is holding forth an ice cream cone. And that's not because we have a lot of ice cream cones here, because we unfortunately do not.
Very unfortunate.
The ice cream cone, to me, represents being supportive, because the cone supports the ice cream. The cone is yummy by itself. The ice cream is yummy by itself, but something really extra special yummy happens when you put the two together. And I find the people here to be very supportive and encouraging each other and helping each other and having each other's backs when times are kind of rough. So that's that one. The next one, which is a little hard to see, but it's people putting their heads together, and that to me represents sharing. That when we come here together, we're sharing things about how we feel about things, how we think about things. There's lots of different symbols around here, different religions, and a heart, and someone climbing up a mountain. We're sharing kind of our challenges and the things that we like to feel about and think about, and that's a super important part of being here for me. And then maybe the most important part is the connections that people make. And when I think about that, I think about the friendships that our kids make here, the friendships that our teachers make with our kids, that our teachers make with each other, that you all make with each other. The connections are really what makes this place come alive for me. And then all around my heart is a vine, because all of this helps us to grow and become the best people that we can become. So that's my drawing. When you all go off to your classes, I've asked teachers to maybe give you time today, if they have the time to do that, to create your own drawings, because we would love to see what is at the heart of FUS for all of you.
Right. And even if you don't have the time in the class, when you get home, if you make a drawing this week and you bring it back next weekend, we will collect them from you and we'll display them so that everyone can see what some of your favorite things are about First Unitarian Society. So, either today in class or when you get home, you can make your own amazing drawings like Leslie and I did, and then share them with all of us.
And if you want, maybe you can do it as a family. Your family can each family member can make their own drawing and bring it next week. And we just want to fill this place with the beautiful images and ideas you have about what makes FUS wonderful. Sound good? All right.
Have fun in class.
Have a great class.
And we'll rise in all the ways that we do. Let's join in when the Spirit says do. You don't actually even need your book. It's the same thing over again. We're going to go with when the Spirit says do. Start with do.
When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. When the Spirit says do, when the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do. When the Spirit says do, 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 Spirit says do. Sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Oh Lord, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance. Oh Lord, you gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
Have a seat.
This morning's reading comes from Barbara Pescan, In This Familiar Place. In this familiar place, listen to the sounds of breathing, to creaking chairs, shuffling feet, clearing throats, and sighing all around. Know that each breath, movement, the glance meant for you or intercepted, holds a life within it.
These are the signs that we choose to be in this company, have things to say to each other, things not yet said, but in each other's presence, still trembling behind our heart's door. These doors closed, but unlocked, each silent thing waiting on the threshold between knowing and unknowing, between being hidden and being known.
Listen, rejoice,
and say amen. Often, in times in life when we are moving into a period of major change, especially change that we choose and know is coming, that process very typically begins a long time before we are ready to make the change. And how we move in that direction can be significant in how it changes what the change does in us and in the world around us. Our preparation can make us more anxious and more adrift, or it can help us move into a place where we know more about why we are doing what we are doing. Many years ago, before I made a major decision in my life, and that decision happened to be to resign from the congregation that I had served for 13 years in Bellingham, Washington, I began my preparation actually before I even realized it. One of the first places was gathering with my colleagues in Asilomar, California, for the first ever conference that they called the Institute for Excellence in Ministry. And in our opening worship service, we had a preacher who wasn't even actually a Unitarian Universalist. She was there as a guest because she was teaching the preaching intensive that week. But Reverend Kay Northcutt was an incredibly amazing and vibrant preacher. And what I didn't know at the time was she was also quite ill, and that the only way that she had made it to that conference that week is for the entire week before that, an entire team of doctors had worked with her to make her healthy enough to get on the plane and come there. But the thing is that she came there with a real fire in her belly. And in that opening sermon, that deep fire moved out into us. She began by telling us the story of, as she was growing up, she and her sister, every day when they got ready to leave for school, their mother had this ritual that she followed every morning. And of course, it didn't take them long to catch on to her ritual, so they would do whatever they could to try to sneak out of the house without her knowing that they were leaving for school. But she, as mothers do, was psychic and always was able to tell when they were leaving. And they would try to make it out the front lawn, and they would hear her steps coming at the door, and she would fling the door open and run out, and she would go, "Girls! Girls!" They would breathe that adolescent sigh like, "Oh my God, here it comes again." They would turn around, and she would say every morning, "Girls, find your greatness." She went on to preach about who we were as Unitarian Universalists. And at the end of her sermon, she told us this: "You are lifesavers. You are mosaic makers called to put together the broken bit by bit, creating patterns of beauty and meaning out of pain and loss. You are bone carriers, like the Israelites who lifted the bones of their ancestors and took them out across the boundaries into the desert. And bones are heavy things, but what you inherit from those who came before you is so rich. Make sure that you carry them with you." At the end of her sermon, she said so simply and so powerfully, "Unitarian Universalists, you are lifesavers, mosaic makers, bone carriers. Find your greatness." And in that moment, what I heard was a new calling to my ministry. And so when a few months later it came time to write my letter of resignation, it wasn't because I was burnt out and bitter and tired of the congregation. It was because I had fallen back in love with them, and I knew what it was that I was to do next, and I could sense that the right thing for them was to find a new set of leaders to take them into the next chapter. We had finished ours. And so that sense of great purpose helped me move into that time, and it made all of the difference. So, bridging now the truth of exploring belonging and bringing us into the exploration in the next month of mission and vision, we invited you to explore in groups what you experience as the heart of FUS. And of course, there were many things in your replies that were quite distinctive. And especially depending on the generation, there were particular answers that came up more often for certain generations in our congregation. But over and over again, there were a few things that you said that really stepped forward as being the most powerful and common responses. You talked about how community is at the heart of First Unitarian Society. And I've said in several sermons that that has been a consistent message. But this time, you were clear that there were certain aspects to that community that were especially important. It was especially important to you that this is a community of all ages that comes together week after week, year into year. It was especially important to you that you have different views and very distinctive personalities from each other, and yet you come here together week after week and try to be your real, authentic self. And at its most powerful, this entire congregation embodies that authenticity, and when it does, you believe you are truly in the heart, the core of what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. You said that music was important to you, and in the way that it called your whole being, body, mind, and spirit, to be present in this place. You said, and this is a complicated response because it is both a great strength and something that can be a challenge. You said that you liked being around people who were like-minded, who thought like you did, which is perfectly understandable, and as we'll explore in some coming sermons, has its limitations as well. Most of all, over and over again, you said that when you are living into your values, be it social justice or compassion with each other, or just showing up when you have had a hard and tiring week, in those places, you are living into the heart of First Unitarian Society. And I believe that those sort of heartfelt core things, those essential places, are sort of like a thread that you hold on to again and again in your life when you need that sense of purpose and clarity most. William Stafford wrote a poem about such an image. He wrote, "There is a thread that you follow. It goes among the things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing, and you have to explain about the thread. But it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding, but you do not ever let go of that thread." Parker Palmer reflected on that poem and said this, "Holding on doesn't make your life any easier, but it can keep you from getting lost in the dark woods that swallow us up every now and then. Knowing that we can find our way home with that thread in hand, we're more likely to explore the woods and learn what they have to teach us. And so, we take that thread with us, that purposefulness, that heart of who we are as a congregation into this year as we explore what it is that we are called to do now and in the coming years together. It is its own mysterious wood. There is much to explore in it. And yet we need to hold on to those purposeful and clear points of heartfelt truth in our midst. They will help us find our way. Frederick Buechner talks about the process of finding our calling involves two things. that it begins in the place where your deep gladness exists and then meets up with the world's deep hunger. Your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger, those together are what help you understand your calling, both as individuals and as a community. Often that calling is called one's vocation, and that comes from the Latin word for calling, vocare. And it has to do not with what you do for a living, but how you find life in what you do. Whether it is in this place or in your own private life, when you are living from that dynamic interplay of understanding what the larger world is asking of you and being in touch with the core, heartfelt place of fulfillment and deep gladness, that is when your life feels most alive and vibrant, and when this community feels that same pulse. That is what we will explore together in the coming months, and that will make a huge difference in how you move into this next chapter with your new clergy team. It will move you into a place of saying yes to life without moving on from the past fully, but learning what parts of it are alive in you now. Rashida Graham Washington, who works with communities in Chicago, helping them sort of understand how they in their own neighborhoods can make a difference over and over again as she works with them and helps them sort of find their voice and their power. She says that there is a process that happens with all of them that makes a huge difference. And she summarizes it in this way, that those communities have moved from smart individualism to collective intelligence. And so what we are seeking to do in this time, and it will take months and years to do it well, is to move into that collective intelligence. That power, that one voice that is so significant. She says that there are a few things that help you both get there and maintain that collective intelligence. She says that those kinds of communities are committed to authentic, lifelong learning. They know that there is always more to learn and do and grow in together. They are willing to name the ways that they have been wrong. And as a matter of fact, they assume that if they're going to risk enough to do bold things, they will fail over and over again. And that failure, if you are willing to embrace it openly and honestly, will be one of your most powerful teachers. And when you embrace that, what is possible becomes infinitely more significant. But most of all, she says one of the biggest differences is that when you come together to talk about important things, you learn to welcome the complexity and the difficulty of really talking about what matters. Rather than trying to quickly move into a neat and tidy resolution that probably doesn't address what's real and true in the first place, you learn how to be at the table with each other and let the tensions do their work for a while in you and around you. Those are the sorts of things that we will practice in the coming months with each other. As we move into next week and we begin our conversation next weekend, Sunday after the second service, where we invite you to begin to think about who you are now as a congregation. We invite you into this time when it is so desperately needed in the world to find your powerful and life-giving voice. We are inviting you to step into who you are now. We are inviting you to understand what it is that you are called to do. First Unitarian Society of Madison, you are mosaic makers, shaping beauty in the difficulty of this time. You are bone carriers, maintaining a thoughtful, compassionate, and passionate faith that is grounded in the past, but always moving forward. And you are resourceful, more abundant and generous than you know now. As you move into this next step, hold on to that thread of purposefulness. Step into this next time. First Unitarian Society, find your greatness. So may it be. Amen, and blessed be.
Each week, we have the opportunity to say yes to life by giving from our sense of abundance. This morning, our outreach offering will go to the Wisconsin Network for Peace, Justice, and Sustainability, and you can read more about that great work in your red floors. We will now take up and receive and give an offering.
Well, the offering is one of the things at the heart of FUS, and so is the act of volunteering. And now you get to hear the names of the people who have volunteered to make this service run so smoothly today. Starting with David Bryles on the sound system, Ann Smiley, our lay minister, our greeters with the smiling faces you saw earlier today, Claire Box and Mary Bergeson-Gallen, our ushers, Marty Hollis, Allison Mix, and John Mix, taking care of the hospitality and the coffee making in the kitchen are none other than Trudy Carlson and other food haulers. Make sure you thank them as you grab the coffee. Staffing our welcome table is Roz Woodward, and all is right with the world because today our tour guide is John Powell. One announcement, and this is also something at the heart of FUS. It's our annual art fair, and many of you know it's called Art in the Right Place. It is the weekend of November 23 and 24, and we need volunteers. You get to volunteer and show your heart of FUS. We have spots for 70 people to assist with the annual art fair, Art in the Right Place. Check with Lorna Aronson at the table in the Commons for more details about how you can sign up for a volunteer gig. And the gigs are 30 minutes, and there's also one for 3 hours. So it depends how much you want to invest in art in the right place.
Each month, this community takes time to share the heart that we feel with our joys and sorrows. This morning, we invite you to come forward and light a candle, sharing briefly from the microphone that Anne offers you what is on your heart, whether it be a celebration or a sadness in your life or in the lives of your loved ones. We invite you to come forward now.
A month ago, we shared that they rejected us as adoptive parents. That was really hard to find out, but a week after we got that news, we got more news that I was 2 weeks pregnant. So we're 7 weeks today, so that's exciting. And we're really holding space for the grief and the joy at the same time.
Yeah. Blessings.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm in my second day of having moved from Boston to Madison because I have children here, and I just want to say that it is so wonderful to be at this church, and I've been pretty active in the UU church wherever I've lived, so I look forward to meeting everybody, and just want to thank you for creating such an amazing environment here. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jerry, and this is for my Aunt Helen, who passed away yesterday.
Hi, my name is Karen, and on Thursday I went to an event that had to do with preventing gun violence. And gun violence is a very sad situation, but it was really encouraging to see so many people that are working to improve the situation.
Hi, I had a friend last May who tried to kill herself, and she just reached out to tell me that she's still suicidal. So if you have somebody in your friend group or your family who's dealing with mental illness or depression, for me, reach out to them to make sure that they're still okay.
I am lighting this candle for my grandpa, who is in his late 80s, I think, and he's been having some medical problems and is facing entering a nursing home, which he does not want to do. So.
We'll light one final candle for all those joys and sorrows that remain in the depths of our heart. And we will sing together one last time. As we turn to hymn number 157, we'll be singing this through 2 times. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit.
Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn our mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn our mill, singly none, singly none.
And now, as we prepare to leave this place, may we hold on to, deepen, expand our connection with that thread of purposefulness in our life and in our shared life. Though we may extinguish this chalice, we do not extinguish the light of wisdom, the warmth of love and community, or the fire of our commitment to what matters. These will remain in your life until you gather in this place again. I invite you to take your seat one more time and receive one more gift together of music.